The coffee tasted fine. Normal. Maria had no reason to suspect anything when her boss's fiancé handed it to her with that sweet smile 20 minutes before the biggest board presentation of her career. But 30 minutes later, she was violently ill in the bathroom while her 4 years of hard work crumbled in the conference room. That's when Maria realized this wasn't just workplace politics. This was war. And Sarah, the billionaire's fiancé, was playing for keeps. What happens next is one of the most powerful stories of workplace justice you'll ever hear. A story about a Black executive assistant who refused to be driven out by someone who thought she didn't belong. A story about documentation, dignity, and a public stand that changed everything. But I need you to do something first. If you believe people like Maria deserve to have their stories told, hit that subscribe button right now. If you've ever felt pushed out, overlooked, or targeted at work, smash that like button. This one's for you. And if you know someone fighting their own battle against workplace injustice, share this video with them. Let's make sure these stories reach the people who need them most. Now, let me tell you how a woman with everything to lose found the courage to risk it all for what was right. This is Maria's story. Maria's fingers froze over her keyboard as Sarah's sharp voice cut through the executive suite like a blade. I don't understand why my fiancé needs someone like you handling his personal calendar. The room went silent. 3 junior associates pretended to study their phones. Maria looked up from her desk, meeting Sarah's cold blue eyes with practiced composure, though her heart hammered against her ribs. Mr. Davies trusts me to manage his schedule efficiently, Maria replied evenly. I've been doing this for 4 years. Sarah's lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. For years. How quaint. She turned on her designer heels and walked toward Mr. Davies's office, her perfume leaving a cloying trail. That was 6 weeks ago, and it had only gotten worse. Maria had worked her way up from a temp position to become the most trusted executive assistant at Davies Tech Solutions. She knew Marcus Davies's preferences before he did, anticipated problems before they arose, and had saved the company millions through her meticulous attention to detail. Her desk was positioned strategically outside his corner office, the nerve center of a billion-dollar empire. Then Sarah Whitmore entered their world like a hurricane in Chanel. The morning after that first encounter, Maria arrived at 7:30 as usual, only to find Sarah already in Marcus's office, door closed. When Marcus finally emerged at 9, he looked uncomfortable. Maria, could you step in for a moment? Sarah sat in the leather chair across from Marcus's desk, perfectly manicured nails drumming against her phone case. Marcus cleared his throat. Sarah has some ideas about streamlining office operations. I've noticed the filing system is terribly outdated, Sarah said, not looking at Maria. Marcus, darling, surely in this day and age, we should be completely digital. All these paper files Maria insists on keeping are so archaic. Maria's jaw tightened. Those files contained legally required original documents, contracts with physical signatures that their legal team specifically demanded be kept in hard copy. Mrs. Whitmore, those files are... It's Miss Whitmore until next June, Sarah interrupted. And I'm simply trying to help modernize things. You shouldn't take it personally. But it was personal, and they both knew it. Over the following weeks, the attacks became more calculated. Maria would prepare briefing documents for important meetings, only to find them mysteriously missing from Marcus's desk. Files she'd organized would be reshuffled, creating chaos before board presentations. Her carefully coordinated lunch meetings would suddenly have conflicting appointments appear on the calendar. Maria, what happened to the Henderson file? Marcus asked one Thursday afternoon, stress evident in his voice. The meeting was in 20 minutes. It was on your desk this morning, sir. I placed it there myself at 8. Sarah breezed past Maria's desk at that moment. Oh, Marcus, I borrowed it earlier. I thought I'd familiarize myself with your business dealings. It must have gotten mixed up with my things. Is it important? Maria watched Marcus's face, waiting for him to say something, anything. He just sighed. Sarah, please don't move documents from my office. Maria, can you print another copy? Of course, Maria said quietly, her hands trembling as she returned to her desk. That afternoon, as Maria worked late to reorganize the chaos Sarah had created, her colleague Jennifer stopped by. "You okay? I heard what happened."
Ai fine.
"You're not fine. She's targeting you, Maria. Everyone can see it." Maria looked up, exhaustion written across her face. "What am I supposed to do, Jennifer?" "She's marrying the boss."
I need this job.
"You could go to HR. And say what? That his fiancée doesn't like me? That she's subtly sabotaging my work in ways I can barely prove." Maria shook her head. "I've worked too hard to get here. I won't let her push me out." But Sarah's campaign intensified. 2 weeks later, Maria arrived to find her desk drawers had been cleaned out. Her personal photos, her spare shoes, the emergency snacks she kept for long days, all gone. In their place was a note in Sarah's looping handwriting. "Thought you could use a fresh start." The clutter was so unprofessional. Maria's hands shook as she held the note. Her grandmother's photo had been in that desk, the only one she had from before her grandmother passed. She stormed into Marcus's office without knocking. "Mr. Davies, I need to speak with you." He looked up from his computer, and Sarah turned from where she'd been standing by the window, examining her nails with studied disinterest. "My desk was emptied without my permission. My personal belongings are gone." Sarah's eyebrows rose delicately. "Oh, Maria, I had the cleaning crew do a deep clean. Your desk was such a disaster. I assumed you'd be grateful. I had everything boxed up. It's in the storage closet." "That wasn't your decision to make," Maria said, fighting to keep her voice level. "Those were my personal items." "I was trying to help," Sarah said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "The office should maintain certain standards, especially for someone in your position." The way she said "your position" made Maria's stomach turn. This wasn't about professionalism. It had never been about professionalism. Marcus shifted uncomfortably in his chair. "Sarah, maybe you should have asked first." "I thought I was being helpful," Sarah said, her eyes going wide with manufacture hurt. "Marcus, you know how much I care about your company's image." "It's fine," Maria heard herself say, though nothing was fine. "I'll retrieve my things from storage." As she turned to leave, Sarah's voice followed her. "Oh, and Maria? I've been thinking, wouldn't it be wonderful if you could train a replacement? Someone who could really grow with the company? I know someone perfect for the role." Maria stopped at the door, but didn't turn around. The message was clear. Sarah wanted her gone. That night, sitting in her modest apartment, Maria stared at the box of her belongings. Her grandmother's photo frame was cracked. Whether it had been intentional or not didn't matter anymore. Something inside her shifted, hardened. She'd spent 4 years building her career, proving herself in a world that already doubted her at every turn. She wasn't going to let Sarah Whitmore's prejudice destroy everything she'd worked for. Maria opened her laptop and created a new folder. Documentation. If Sarah wanted a war, Maria would fight back, but she'd do it smart. The documentation started small. Maria began forwarding herself emails, screenshotting calendar changes, keeping a detailed log with dates and times. Every snide comment, every misplaced document, every instance of Sarah undermining her work, it all went into the file. 3 days later, Sarah struck again. Maria was in the conference room preparing for the quarterly board meeting when Sarah entered with 2 cups of coffee. "Thought you might need this," she said, placing one on the table. "You look exhausted." Every instinct told Maria not to drink it, but she was exhausted, and the gesture seemed almost kind. She took a sip. 20 minutes into the board presentation, Maria's vision blurred. Her stomach churned violently. She excused herself and barely made it to the bathroom before getting sick. When she returned, pale and shaking, the presentation had fallen apart. Marcus looked furious. "Maria, are you all right?" one of the board members asked with genuine concern. "I'm sorry, I don't know what." "She's been looking unwell all week," Sarah interjected smoothly from where she sat in the back. "I've been worried about her." "Marcus, darling, maybe Maria needs some time off? This position is clearly too demanding." Maria's eyes met Sarah's across the room, and she saw it. the tiniest smile playing at the corner of Sarah's mouth. The coffee. I'm fine, Maria said firmly, though her legs trembled. I can continue. She powered through the rest of the presentation on pure determination, but the damage was done. Afterward, she heard whispers. Maybe she can't handle the pressure anymore. She's not as sharp as she used to be. That afternoon, Maria went straight to her doctor and requested a blood test. She didn't know what she was looking for, but she needed documentation of everything now. The breaking point came 2 weeks later at the company's annual gala. Maria was there in her capacity as Marcus's executive assistant, coordinating with the event staff and ensuring everything ran smoothly. She wore a simple but elegant navy dress, professional, appropriate. Sarah arrived in a glittering gold gown that probably cost more than Maria's monthly rent, Marcus on her arm. The evening proceeded normally until dinner service. Maria was reviewing the evening's schedule with the catering manager when Sarah's voice rang out across the ballroom. Excuse me, everyone. I'm so sorry, but there's been a terrible mistake. The room fell silent. 200 of the city's most influential people turned to look. Sarah stood at the head table, her hand on Marcus's arm. Our catering manager just informed me that someone ordered the cheaper wine package instead of the premium selection we'd specifically requested. Can you imagine? For an event of this caliber? Maria's blood ran cold. She had ordered exactly what Marcus had approved in their budget meeting. I hate to call anyone out, Sarah continued, her voice carrying perfectly across the silent room, but Maria, Marcus's assistant, handled those arrangements. Honestly, I don't know if this was incompetence or something more intentional. Perhaps she thought no one would notice? Or perhaps she paused delicately. She simply doesn't understand the standards expected in these circles. The implication hung in the air like poison. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Maria saw the looks, some sympathetic, others judgmental, many uncomfortable. She saw colleagues she'd worked with for years avoiding her eyes. Marcus looked mortified but said nothing. He just sat there, frozen, while his fiancée publicly humiliated Maria in front of everyone who mattered in their industry. Something inside Maria snapped. She walked to the center of the ballroom, her heels clicking against the marble floor. Every eye was on her. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was steady. Miss Whitmore, I ordered exactly what Mr. Davies approved in our March 15th budget meeting. The email confirmation is time-stamped and includes his signature. I have it on my phone if you'd like to see it. Sarah's smile faltered for just a moment. Well, surely there was a miscommunication. There was no miscommunication, Maria continued, pulling out her phone. But since we're discussing standards and expectations, perhaps we should also discuss the pattern of interference I've documented over the past 8 weeks. The missing files, the rearranged schedules, the cleaning crew that you sent to empty my desk without permission, destroying personal property, the coffee you gave me before the board meeting, the same day I mysteriously became ill enough that I had to leave and get medical attention. The room was utterly silent now. Maria, Marcus finally spoke, standing up. This isn't the time. When is the time, Mr. Davies? Maria asked, and she heard her voice crack, but pushed forward anyway. When is the time to address the fact that your fiancé has spent 2 months trying to sabotage my career? When is the time to acknowledge that I have been nothing but professional, nothing but excellent at my job, and yet I've been treated like I'm somehow less than, somehow not good enough to occupy space in your office? Tears burned behind her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Not here.
Not now.
I have documentation of everything. Emails, calendar screenshots, time-stamped logs, witness statements from colleagues. I've kept silent because I needed this job because I've worked 4 years to build my reputation here. But I won't be silent anymore while someone tries to erase everything I've accomplished. She turned to face the crowd, many of whom she'd worked with, coordinated with, helped over the years. I'm good at my job. I'm excellent at my job. And I refuse to apologize for existing in a space I've earned the right to occupy. Maria set her phone on the nearest table, where her documentation file was clearly visible on the screen, and walked out of the ballroom with her head high. The next morning, Maria arrived at her desk to find an HR representative waiting. Her heart sank. This was it. She was being fired. "Ms. Johnson, could you come with me, please?" In the HR office, she found not just the HR director, but the company's chief counsel and Marcus Davies himself. Marcus looked like he hadn't slept. "Maria," the HR director began, "we've reviewed the documentation you mentioned. We've also spoken with several colleagues who corroborated your account." Maria's breath caught. What Miss Whitmore did constitutes workplace harassment and interference. "We take these matters extremely seriously." The HR director glanced at Marcus, who looked devastated. "Mr. Davies has asked to speak with you personally." The room cleared, leaving just Maria and Marcus. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "I should have seen it. I should have stopped it. I was blind because He stopped. "That's no excuse. You deserved better from me, from this company. Sarah is no longer welcome in this office, and our engagement is over." Maria felt tears finally spill over. "I just wanted to do my job." "I know. And you did it brilliantly, despite everything." Marcus paused. "I'd like to offer you the position of Chief of Staff. It comes with a significant raise, your own office, and direct reports. You've more than earned it." Maria wiped her eyes, thinking of her grandmother, of every obstacle she'd overcome to get here. "I'll need that offer in writing, Mr. Davies, with very clear anti-retaliation protections." He smiled sadly. "You'll have it by end of day." 6 months later, Maria stood in front of a business leadership conference, sharing her story. The room was packed with young professionals, many of them people of color who saw themselves in her struggle. "Fighting back doesn't always mean being loud," she told them. "Sometimes it means being smart. Document everything. Know your worth. And never, ever let anyone make you smaller than you are." The standing ovation lasted 3 full minutes. As Maria left the stage, she checked her phone and saw messages from former colleagues, from people inspired by her speech, from organizations wanting her to speak again. She thought about Sarah, about Marcus, about that terrifying night in the ballroom when she'd risked everything. It had been worth it. If this story inspired you, please subscribe to see more stories about resilience and standing up for what's right. Drop a comment below sharing your own experiences with workplace challenges. Your voice matters. And hit that like button to help others find these important stories. Together, we're stronger than any injustice we face.